In the last video, we started talking about the Redux side of this application. So in total, we're going to have the two reducers and one action creator. Now that we understand the React side and the Redux side, it's time to understand how these two things are going to fit together. And remember, that is the job of the React Redux library. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to get these things to play nicely together using that library. Let's get to it. All right, so first diagram right here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, some of the things I'm going to show you are going to seem a little bit complicated, and it's because I want you to understand some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that is going on with the React Redux library. But you're not going to really understand some of these moving parts until you actually write the code out for it. So just take this diagram and the next one that we're going to take a look at with just a, I don't know, a high-level overview, I suppose. And if it's not entirely clear, that's totally fine. Let's try to write out some code first, and then we'll say, okay, now we understand it. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Using React Redux, we're going to create two new components. These components are called the provider and the connect. These are both components that are created by React Redux. You and I are going to create instances of them, and then we're going to pass some props into both of them to configure exactly how they work. So remember, the provider and connect implemented by React Redux. You saw a moment ago when we were working on CodePen that after we took all of our reducers and combined them together, we then eventually ended up with something called the Redux store. And that store is what contains all of our reducers and all the state of our application. We are going to take that store that gets created and we're going to pass it as a prop into this provider thing. The provider is going to be rendered at the very, very top of our application hierarchy, even above the app component. So technically, we're going to show the app inside of this provider thing. The provider is then going to have that eternal reference to the store right here. The word provider or the term provider essentially means it is providing information to all of the different components inside of our app. Now, the next thing we're going to do is focus on that song list. You'll notice I did not show the song detail here just for clarity. So everything we're about to talk about is going to happen to the song detail as well. But I just want to talk about the song list in isolation just to make the diagram a little bit more straightforward. So after wiring up this provider, we're then going to find every component inside of our application that needs to somehow access the data that is stored inside of our store. The song list definitely needs to know about the list of songs that is produced by this reducer that produces the list of songs. So because of that, we're going to create an instance of the connect component right above the song list. So we're going to essentially wrap the song list component with this connect thing. The connect tag or the connect function, or the connect component, those are all valid terms as you will see in just a minute. I usually refer to it as the connect tag. You'll see why in just a moment. But the connect component right here is a very special component. It is special because it can communicate with the provider tag at the very top of our hierarchy. It communicates with that provider not through the prop system, but through a completely different system of communication inside of React that we have not discussed yet, called the context system. We are going to discuss the context system later on inside the course, but for right now, just understand that the context system essentially allows any parent component to communicate directly with any child component, even if there are other components in between them, such as the app in this case. So at some point in time, when we put that connect tag in there, we're going to configure the connect tag and tell it that when it gets rendered on the screen, and when it renders the song list as a child, it needs to reach back up to that provider and tell the provider that it needs to get the list of songs that are contained within our store. So the connect is essentially going to send a little message up, say, hey, tell me anytime that the list of song changes, just let me know. And then the provider in return is going to say, all right, sounds great. Well, here's our current list of songs. And so it's going to send that list of songs back down to the connect function or the connect component down here. The connect component, in turn, is going to take that list of songs and pass it as a prop down into our song list component. So that's what's going on with the data that is inside of our store. But remember, we've also got these action creators as well. The action creators are not stored in any way inside of our store. Instead, we call an action creator, we take the action that gets returned, and we send it into the store.dispatch function. Remember, that's how we change data in the Redux side of our application. Now, once we start making use of React Redux, that flow is going to change just a tiny, tiny little bit. Essentially, we're going to pass some more configuration into this connect component. So in addition to telling it that we want to get a list of songs, we're also going to tell the connect function that we want to be able to call the select song action creator from within our song list. So when we tell the connect function or the connect component about that, the connect component says, okay, no problem. I'm going to make sure that this action creator called select song gets sent down to our song list component as well as a prop. So this entire flow, essentially all we have to do is create the provider, pass it a reference to our Redux store. Then anytime that we have a component that needs to interact with the Redux store in any way, we're going to wrap it with this connect function. And like I said, I'm going to very frequently refer to this as the connect function, component, or tag somewhat interchangeably. We'll then configure this connect function or connect tag right here by telling it what different pieces of state we want out of our store and what different action creators we want to have wired up as well. The connect function is going to then kind of do all the magic for us and make sure that all of that data, both the state and the action creators, show up inside of our component as props. All right, so that's what's going on behind the scenes. Now, trust me, if that sounds really complicated, the code to make this all happen is way more straightforward than you might think. All right, the code is going to be really straightforward stuff. It's just understanding the behind the scenes stuff that gets a little bit more complicated. So let's take a quick pause right here. When we come back to the next section, we're going to start implementing our entire app. So I'll see you in just a minute.